The video game industry is going through a very tough time. While, yes, it is making the most amount of money it ever has, and we're seeing record high budgets, we're also seeing an absolute boatload of layoffs. And now we have the Destiny creator, Bungie, going through layoffs and blaming them on tough economy, but a lot of people don't believe them and think that it's years of virtue signaling finally catching up with them. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, companies will never tell us the exact truth as to why they're going through layoffs or what has lost them the most amount of money over several years. We obviously can see through earnings reports games that have been successes and failures, and we have seen a track record of games that are extremely woke being failures. Like all of the Sweet Babying titles, they go in, they DEIify them, and then they end up being flops. And Bungie is now going through all these layoffs, but a lot of people think that it's years of virtue signaling catching up with them. This is a Bounding into Comics article. It says Bungie CEO Pete Parsons announced significant changes for the game development studio. The top of those changes will be an almost 20% reduction of their workforce through layoffs. He is blaming rising development costs, industry shifts, and enduring economic conditions. Now, we know that games cost a lot of money to make, but at the same time, we haven't really heard about development costs rising. Obviously, if you're a Bethesda working on an Elder Scrolls 6 or a Rockstar working on a Grand Theft Auto 6, yeah, you're shoving tons of money into projects, but you would think Bungie, a company that keeps one game going for many years, would be able to kind of manage costs, right? Because it's not like they're putting out 4 games every 2 years. They're putting out one game that spans several years, and they're simply creating expansions, which of course are a fraction of the cost of a real game, like a full game. Yeah, obviously they still cost money to make, but at the same time, we're not talking about them releasing a new AAA game every year. It says because of this, Bungie will refocus its development efforts entirely on its flagship franchises, Destiny and Marathon. And keep in mind, there is a Marathon remake coming out, and that's been delayed already. And I think that it will be popular, but I don't think it's going to quite be the massive game that they're really expecting it to be. Like, I have obviously seen some hype regarding Marathon, but I haven't seen an insane amount, maybe just because people are waiting for more news and teasers and trailers. But at this point in time, there aren't a lot of people talking about it. It says impact on workforce starting today, 220 roles will be eliminated, and the mass layoffs represent about roughly 17% of Bungie's workforce. This will impact all levels of the company, including executive and senior leadership positions. So it really seems like they're getting rid of a lot of people. And of course, they're trying to play it down, saying, oh, in addition to these reductions, it all comes down to strategic changes. We know that Bungie is collaborating with PlayStation Studios leadership to spin out one of its incubation projects, an action game set in a new sci-fi universe. This project will form a new studio within PlayStation Studios, allowing it to continue its development independently. But of course, while we're getting all of these reasons that they're saying is why they're laying people off, a lot of people don't believe them. The reactions were very swift online that pointed to multiple of instances of hypocrisy by the studio and its CEO. Manga Lawyer had made a post saying Bungie spent 2 years virtue signaling about everything except video games. During this time, their developers aggressively attacked gamers and became obsessed with pronouns and claims of justice, often targeting white males. 2 years later, the same company fired 200 people. And yeah, I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that these years of insulting customers, not giving people what they want, and not creating new innovative products has caught up with them. I think that it is a plethora of reasons, but I do think that virtue signaling is up there. People only want to play games. That's all that it boils down to. People are not buying a Bungie game to support their employees' activism. We're supporting their games to play their games. And instead, we've had many people at this company, and of course a lot of companies in the industry, aggressively attacking gamers and basically saying if you don't like it, don't buy it, and people are not, and it's finally catching up with them. Of course, we have seen them make posts about Black Lives Matter. We have seen them make posts about pride at Bungie. They also went through a massive Latinx controversy where they were talking about, Latin Appreciation Month, but they were talking just about Latinx, and that was the term that they used, which people didn't like. And of course, people are zeroing in on the CEO, Mongol Lawyer did, on Pete Parsons himself and the virtue signaling found within his X account. Mongol Lawyer said, in part, this is what happens when you prioritize sending a message over quality. And it's true. I mean, this is plastered all over his social media. And we're not talking about somebody who is just an individual here. We're talking about a CEO, and a lot of people think that this is really cringe-inducing. But it wasn't just Mongol Lawyer. There are many people attacking him and Bungie, even people on the left are roasting the CEO and studio leadership. My Name is Biff said leadership needs to be changed. Their decisions have consistently led to disaster for everyone who has actually been making the games we play. They've been reckless with the studio, its employees, and its franchises. The problem is clear: bad leadership. It needs to change. And all the stories are continuing to pour out about Parsons' treatment of employees in the past. There are many people that are coming out, actually, and one that was very, very prominent for me that I noticed was the Bungie CEO, Pete Parsons, inviting some of their employees to see his new cars 2 days before laying them off. The Sam Bartley had made a post saying, "Coward, you did this, you chose this. I'm already listed as do not work with and I don't care anymore. You lied to my face, straight to it. You also invited me to come and see your new cars 2 days before you laid me off." 2 fucking days. And he actually decided to lock down his social media because he was receiving so much backlash, and he seems like a scumbag. Let's be honest. If you're inviting people to see your new cars 2 days before you lay them off, yeah, that's not going to sit well with people. That is not gonna go over well. And again, he's not just someone on social media. So locking down your account just makes you look even more fucking pathetic. And there are a lot of people that work at Bungie that I don't have the same opinions as, that I don't generally agree with, like Sam Bartley, for example. But it's clear as day that Pete Parsons is just a terrible person. And of course, given the state of the industry, Bungie isn't the only company that is going through massive layoffs right now. Tons of companies are. But at the same time, when you look at what they're creating, I've got to be honest, it's really not that impressive. Yes, I know a lot of people love Destiny, which is fantastic. I'm glad so many people do. I never really got into Destiny 2. I was a big fan of Destiny 1, though. But at the same time, they have not been listening to people for years at this point. And then you combine that with their virtue signaling, and they have a lot of people who are not on their side and who don't generally like them now. And maybe, Pete will come out and make a statement and try to address a lot of the claims being levied towards him and the way that Bungie is being ran, but I just highly doubt it at this point. The layoffs have already happened, and they've already laid off nearly 20% of their workforce through layoffs. So it will be interesting to see if any other employees or now ex-employees come out and say anything else about Pete or the leadership at Bungie, but things are not looking good for this virtue signaling company. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.